For obvious reasons, British Airways is the leading long-haul operator from the UK. Between April and December 2026, Cirium DO data shows that it will have 29% of the country's long-haul activity. However, because all such services are from London, its share of the London market rises to 34%. In a significant and surprisingly extensive disclosure, BA has revealed multiple new and returning long-haul routes. But do not misunderstand, some of them have simply switched London airports. However, as we will see, that still results in new airport-level markets and other highly notable developments. They add to the 10 routes that had already been announced. The 5 long-haul routes are summarized below. Clearly, the most notable and significant addition is BA's return to Melbourne. Perhaps it was not a coincidence that this very long route was announced amid the war in Iran and the many ongoing consequences of connecting at Gulf hubs. However, this argument is undermined by the long wait until the first flight, along with the fact that the route was presumably planned for many months. O might have been partly motivated to return to Victoria following Qantas ending its one-stop, same plane service via Perth. However, this operation returns in October 2026. Moreover, BA's performance on Heathrow Kuala Lumpur, which returned to its network last year after a 5-year absence, is likely to be underwhelming. This is probably one reason why it chose the Malaysian capital as its stopover city, rather than, say, Singapore. BA's reintroduction of flights to Melbourne. Covering 9,134 nautical miles, 16,916 km each way, BA's upcoming Heathrow Kuala Lumpur Melbourne route will be the carrier's new second-longest route. It'll replace Heathrow Santiago, which covers 31% less distance. The One World members' return to Victoria means it'll have 2 routes to Australia again. It'll join its existing Heathrow-Singapore-Sydney service. Significantly, a massive 5 Australian routes will be operated by European carriers in 2026 to 2027. In addition to BA's 2 links, Finnair will debut on Helsinki-Bangkok-Melbourne, while Turkish Airlines, whose Istanbul airport hub is on the European side of the Bosphorus, serves Melbourne via Singapore and Sydney via Kuala Lumpur. Will any other airlines commence service? 2 airlines will operate between Heathrow and Tampa. After competing indirectly from different London airports, BA and Virgin will face each other head-to-head between the UK's busiest airport and Tampa. Unlike BA's service from Gatwick, the airline's shift to Heathrow will mean much greater connectivity from across Europe and beyond. Yet, in winter 2026 toward 2027, BA will only fly 5 times a week on the 787-10 against Virgin's daily 787-9 offering. Context is needed. Gatwick-Tampa was BA's worst-performing U.S. route in terms of seat factor. As such, it is perhaps unsurprising that it has shifted the market to Heathrow. Virgin did poorly too, as the U.S. Department of Transportation shows that it only filled 73.8% of its Tampa seats last year. Will one of the airlines pull out? While fairly likely, nothing is confirmed. New flights, 18 of the most exciting airline routes, launching this week. Welcome to my 200th weekly Routes article. Since the first edition 4 years ago, more than 2,500 new and returning routes have been discussed. The articles have had 4 million views and counting. As always, the purpose is to discuss a small selection of subjectively exciting services. 5 mini-stories have been chosen this week. Unless stated, routes began between March 10 and March 16th. Due to the war, several routes that were due to commence in this period have been postponed. Turkish Airlines finally begins flights to Armenia. Following the apparent thawing of relations between Turkey and Armenia, Turkish Airlines has finally commenced flights between its Istanbul airport hub and Yerevan. The obvious addition was a gaping hole in its vast global network. While various airlines have served the market before, most recently Fly One Armenia last year, it is the first time that a Turkish carrier has done so. The Star Alliance member operates daily, with departures rising to 10 weekly in May and double daily in June. The 737-800 and 737 MAX 8 will be primarily used. This summer, flights will leave Istanbul at 2:40 ATM and 9:45 p.m., getting back at 11:15 a.m. and 4:35 a.m. respectively. Obviously, connectivity across Europe and North America will be vital. Armenia, Azerbaijan, and Georgia constitute the Caucasus region. Turkish Airlines now serves Baku, Batumi, Tbilisi, and Yerevan there, with Cirium DO data showing up to 14 daily flights this year. Previously, it flew to Ganja and Nakhchivan, both in Azerbaijan. 4 U.S. airlines launch 14 routes. 4 U.S. airlines, American, Breeze, Frontier, and JetBlue, introduced 14 new and returning routes between March 11 and 15. You can read all about all the launches here. Breeze started 5 of them, 4 of which were within the western U.S., which is quite unusual for that fast-growing carrier. The airline replaced Avalo or Allegiant on all of them. Routes included Breeze's first service to both Arcata, Eureka, and Redmond. The city of Redmond is in Oregon, with the airline flying to that state for the first time. Some 36 states will be served in March, with Oregon having the fewest flights. This JetBlue route is back after 12 years. On March 13th, JetBlue took off from Jacksonville to San Juan, having last served the market in 2014. The route, which covers 1,119 nautical miles, 2,072 km, operates 4 times a week on the carrier's A320 CEOs. In the 12 months to October 2025, the U.S. DOT data indicates that 72,000 round-trip passengers flew between the two cities. Jacksonville was only the Puerto Rican capital's 30th largest market in the lower 48. JetBlue does not have the market to itself. It joins Frontier, which, despite poor loads, had operated exclusively for the past 5 years. It is the first time that 2 airlines have flown simultaneously, but for how long? Take off. AirAsia begins. These 2 routes. In the post-pandemic world, AirAsia's multiple units have launched comparatively few routes. Things have seemingly changed markedly from when the group was fast-growing and entrepreneurial. 2 routes commenced in the examined period: Penang to Phuket, served 4 weekly, and Kuala Lumpur to Batam, daily. The original Malaysian AirAsia unit competes head-to-head with Firefly to Phuket and Batik Air Malaysia to Batam. While Penang Phuket was served by the budget carrier in 2018 to 2019, the Kuala Lumpur-Batam route is brand new to the group's map. The former has 2 carriers for the first time in 7 years, while 2026 is the first year the latter has had 2 operators. The start of Batam flights means that AirAsia now serves 17 Indonesian cities from the Malaysian capital. Air Arabia. Abu Dhabi takes off to Qatit. Despite the war in Iran and all the consequences of it across the Gulf, a new route has just commenced. Air Arabia Abu Dhabi took off from its namesake city to Cairo Sphinx, which is the new airport serving the enormously populous capital of Egypt. It is a resumption. Flights existed until mid-2025. Air Arabia operates 4 times weekly on its A320s, Let's spare a thought for other routes that were to begin in the examined period. For example, Kuwait Airways was going to introduce service to Moscow Domodedovo on March the 16th, but as Kuwait's airspace remains closed, it is unclear when the inaugural flight will depart. Pegasus was due to start flights from Mersin, for Adana, to Erbil on March 15th, but the launch route was postponed. Many other routes from the Gulf are due to begin shortly, including Etihad from Abu Dhabi to Charlotte. It remains to be seen when they do begin.